Hello and welcome to CIO News. I am Khushbu Soni, your host for the broadcast and chief editor at CIO News. This is a recorded session and will be available on our website, that is cionews.co.in, and our CIO News LinkedIn handle. It is an exclusive interview series on the topical voice of CIO. It is my absolute pleasure to invite our guest for today's episode. He is Mr. Thembelani Maphanga, the Chief Information Officer and the GRC practitioner for the entity of the government for South Africa. Thembelani has 28 years of rich experience within ICT and ICT auditing, an advocate for automated integrated GRC to support principled performance. Thembelani, it is an absolute pleasure to have you, and thank you for joining us today. Do you see a space for automation, having RPA, AI in place to take care of the entire GRC?
Your ultimate goal is when you have actually built that layer on top of your entire GRC, where you have built your artificial intelligence and your machine learning to be able to now to even do prediction, to pull some certain insights from your data, to be able to guide and make sure that when we make decisions, we are now informed by what data tells us. So there's a greater role to play to say, we've built this reporting framework, it runs real time, yes, but now on top of it, you run your artificial intelligence, where now you can do predictions. You can now say, yes, you have done A, B, C, D, but when we look at the data is saying still you are not going to achieve your targets by the end of the year. Yes, you are doing this work, but still that risk is still there. So that is a value add that will create, even push the benefits of GRC to the next level. We started doing some of the work, and unfortunately, a friend of mine is from India, and we sent this concept note to him. He looked at it and he said, I think you are 10 years ahead of time, young man. Can you give us time to deal with our problems now? What you are talking about is way ahead of time. And guess what? That was before COVID.
Oh, okay.
I went back to him after COVID, and he said, I think what we discussed 2 or 3 years ago,
yeah,
we should have done it. We should have done it then, because we would have addressed many of the things that we are supposed to be dealing with now. And I said, look, we should learn from our past, and we should do better. And I'm hoping that part of the conversations that we are having as CIOs would be to say, how do we integrate GRC into our management approach as a new way of thinking? Yes, it has been there for quite some time, but adopting it now and making it part of the institution is going to make a whole difference in our lives. Yes.
Absolutely. Great. My next question is, how do you calculate ROI and measure actual results of an automated GRC system?
The issue of ROI is a bit of a tricky one on the GRC, because remember, at the moment we have not seen a full adoption of where we should be as role players in the space, and the issues around your return on investment, you can see that we have been struggling a little bit. And when we even started doing the numbers, it has been quite a bit of a challenge even to make the business case, because we're still struggling with enterprise risk management in many institutions. Right. And driving your ROI on GRC has been quite a bit of a challenge. And even when I tried to work out, yes, we came out with a number of benefits that we can quantify. I mean, with one organization, they came to say your ROI would be sitting at $300,000, but when we started doing the impact assessment, you found that some of the institutions were still far behind. When you start saying what are the time savings, what will be your data feed automation cost and the benefits, where would you quantify the benefits around your control monitoring, around your compliance, around your reporting, you could see some of the benefits and you could work out, but still, when you look at the institutional management level, for instance, if you are saying GRC will increase the value at the C-suite level, the involvement of your C-suite in institutional decision-making process because of the GRC approach, you see the benefits, but quantifying this has been quite a bit of a challenge because you need to drill deeper into what each C executive is responsible for, drill deeper as to how it can benefit out of this integrated approach into reporting and management and all of those things. Right. But when you look at how we're looking at data analytics and how those can begin to reduce your cost in terms of your running your organization and the benefits that you will get when your analytics are sitting on top of your GRC, you can see now that decisions that would have taken 3 months can take 3 weeks. Decisions that would have taken longer period to be made with a number of risks exposures have now been reduced. And when you start quantifying those benefits, you are able to come to a decent number and say, now I can quantify how it's going to impact on my front office, how it's going to impact on my back office, how it's going to impact on my turnaround times in some of the systems and projects that we're running, because the implementation of a GRC approach takes the institution into account as and when decisions are made. So there's quite a bit of work that we're still working on to actually come up with a framework and a model that we can utilize to do your ROI. But there is work that is being done. A few companies have started doing the work, but we're still assessing and evaluating that going forward. Yeah. But my view is that one of the greatest benefits, okay, COVID was bad.
Yeah.
COVID is bad. But what it has taught us, a couple of things. One of those is the manner in which we have not built the ability to manage governance and compliance and risk across institutions. Okay. It is only now when institutions are requesting us as organizations to supply and provide information on how we're dealing with issues of governance. Only now do we realize that we are not there. You see the differences of people in Canada. You see what is happening in Australia. You see what is happening in many other countries in Europe. And you would see what is happening in Africa. You find that issues of governance and compliance and risk management have always been placed as only as a compliance issue. It does not form part of the institutional on how we manage our institutions. As a result, only when the compliance reports that we've submitted, only when they got tested during COVID, when people started digging deeper and asking serious questions, those were found wanting. And you would see that in many organizations, you would find risk management or enterprise risk management has been seen as something that deals with the internal and external auditors. It's something that sits in the corner there. We do it for compliance. And when we do it because we need to comply. After that, we go and do what we do best, which is we run our business. And you see it as a by the way. It's something we do because we must do it, and it is a waste of time. I should be doing my work, but now I need to do these risk things. And when I'm done with that, then I'll continue with my work. Right. We have incorporated governance, risk, and compliance to make it our work as institutions. As a result, when all of a sudden issues of governance and compliance were being asked and were found wanting, only then do we realize that we need to do something differently.
Correct.
And you are beginning to see organizations starting to say governance, risk, and compliance should be part of what we do.
Correct.
Because when done well, then it got significant and serious benefits to multiple institutions. If you read how they define it in OSAC, in one of the papers written by OSAC, you will see that it is all about principled performance, where you are saying anything that has got to do with performance of the institution, it should not be managed in silos, but it should be managed as part of the institutional management. For instance, if a risk in one division of the organization has got an impact to the whole organization, that risk should be visible to everyone so that we can all contribute in aligning our risk mitigation plans, in aligning our monitoring and reporting, so that when that division drops the ball, we are there to support it. So what we have found is that even in 2021, you still see silo planning, silo mentality thinking, where somebody says, I am finance, I will deal with finance issues. If there are risks in finance, CFO is responsible for that. If there are risks in corporate services, the corporate services executive is responsible for that. And we have not started bringing it all together so that we begin to collapse these silos, these verticals, so that issues of governance, risks, and compliance become an institutional management thing, so that we all have a single view of where the problems are. And that is where governance, risk, and compliance comes in. It is not governance management, compliance management, and risk management. It is governance, compliance, and risk management as a framework. So if there is a governance matter in one division, and that is got an impact in the whole enterprise, that governance matter, we all own it.
Correct.
If there's a risk management matter in the finance department, and that risk issue has got an institutional impact, we all own it. And we've got a single view of what those are. When we report to our board, we have a single report that says this is our state of governance, risk, and compliance. And it doesn't come in 4 or 5 reports, but it comes as a single report that gives a view of where we think the organization should be. So that is where I think we are still not picking we're still not putting the right systems in place to do that effective oversight and a single view and a single truth of where we are as an institution. And I'm hoping that the more executives adopt this governance, risk, and management framework and approach, the better. And even when you add and you automate it, it becomes even better. Because when you automate it, then it changes how institutional reporting is. Because if you take this approach, now you are introducing real-time reporting. That means I do not have to wait for a month before I know that somebody in my department did not do what they were supposed to do.
Correct.
My other colleagues in the executive do not need to wait until a quarter to know that one division has failed to meet its own targets. The system will now be tracking all of those issues that have got an impact at an institutional level. And we will be saying, you are supposed to report on month 1 on this matter. 10 things should have been done. And that user there at the bottom should have performed 5 of those things. But did that person perform those 5 things? Yes and no. If that user did perform those 5 tasks, the system will report that as achieved. And for you to verify whether it was achieved, you will then say, okay, who does quality assurance? The supervisor. Who does the management? The manager of that division. And the workflows will allow us to track and confirm that, yes, we can confirm that these tasks have been delivered, they have been completed, they meet the minimum requirements, they meet the standard that way, and therefore it turns green. When that task turns green, you know that it has been done because the person who's a supervisor reviewed and checked it. The person who's the manager reviewed and checked it. And the executive of that division also confirmed that, yes, he is happy. These 10 things have been done. When those things are done, then the question when you go into a monthly meeting, then what type of reporting are you going to have? Because the report or the performance dashboard will be reflecting green for that division. Then it allows the executive to say, oh, all the greens are fine. Then let's focus our energies where we are amber or where we are red. Then it changes the reporting, even the thinking in terms of reporting, because now you can focus in areas where you are needed, in areas where there is amber. For that matter, when a department is reporting amber, and you know that you are reporting on a monthly basis, you are amber during week 1, you are amber week 2, you are red in week 3. By that time, the escalation process has happened. The CEO has been advised. The chairperson of the necessary committee has been advised, because that is our escalation framework, and the system manages that for us. So by the time we come into this meeting, we all know what is happening because we've got access to the system. We're getting the feedback, we're getting the reports, we're getting the status. When we walk into a meeting, we're saying, Mr. Maphanga, you still got your 3 yellows. What is happening there? We saw the feedback yesterday, but what can we do to assist you? We deal with that. We look at the areas where there is red, we do the same. So taking this GRC approach, it changes entirely how we do reporting, and it allows for us to then work together as an institution, because now it's no longer about finance, no longer about engineering, it's no longer about community services or corporate services, it's all about the institution. What can we do to help you to make sure that you turn those yellows, you turn those reds into greens? So that is what we are talking about.
Right, got it. Great conversation, Thembelani, and also great insights on the GRC phase of implementations. Before we end, my one last question to you is, any advices or best practices that you can share with our viewers, the CIO viewers on this platform will be great.
For me, the benefit that one can extract out of this process is, one, you will get an opportunity where you review and realign and get the benefit of everybody having a single view of the truth of the institution.
Correct.
We know that over a period of a number of years, you still find that silo thinking, that silo mentality, that silo planning running through many organizations. And you would see even the reporting is not standardized. I sit as an executive and make a report as and when I report on certain parameters of my function. But when you start looking at a GRC approach, you are now able to say, the view that I hold is not a view of a function of a vertical. It's an institutional view. And these are some of the benefits that you will see with it. Now, what that does, then it talks about your principal performance. Because now, instead of measuring your performance vertically, you are able to measure your performance across the institution. That is the first part. The second part, you are now able to build knowledge in the system using your GRC to a level where I do not need to be dependent on the strength of individuals within the institution, because the knowledge of the organization is built into the system. For instance, if you strengthen your GRC, the process or one process in finance or one process in IT is no longer dependent on the strength of the individual that is doing that work. It is built into the system. If my IT manager leaves tomorrow, whatever he was supposed to be doing once every month or once every week is built into the system. And the system will be saying, every Friday you should be doing X. The reports that should be coming out of that is Y. And how we are going to measure that, this is how we measure it. Right. So So the system will drive governance, the system will drive compliance, the system will drive compliance management, regardless of the person who is in the seat. So the CIO responsibilities and reporting requirements will now no longer be dependent on the individual CIO, but it will be built into the system. Whether the CIO is myself this year and Jabulani tomorrow, it's neither here nor there, because we have built the knowledge and the measurement and the performance reporting of the organization into the system. And that is the benefit of your GRC. GRC will allow to ensure that there is principled performance, regardless of who is the CEO, regardless of who is the CFO. The system will guide the process. The system will provide the reporting framework, and it will actually drive and determine how the risk and what the exposures are of the institution, regardless of who's sitting at the top. And that is the greatest benefit of the approach that we are recommending to institutions.
Right. Wonderful. Great conversation, Thembelani. And once again, thank you so much for taking out time for us and joining on the CIO News platform. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. And I'm sure our viewers are going to get great insights from this discussion today.
Yes, no, thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. And I do hope that my colleagues out there will start doing a lot of research on how best we can all work together and collaborate to bring GRC into our organization and start building and making it the best product and service that we can use to drive our organization. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, then. Thank you. Okay, bye.